90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Welcome to another edition of From the Press Box on this June 8th, 2020. Yes, there is sports going on, though it's more about organizing the rest of the season or the beginning of the season, depending on the sport. I am Rob Leonard, your host. Joining me, of course, is my brother and award-winning sports writer, Tim Leonard. Hello, brother.
Good morning, brother.
How are you today, brother?
I'm outstanding,
okay?
Brother.
Okay, that's good to know.
Outstanding.
Look at you sounding so happy. We should say that New York City opens today. They're a little behind Long Island, actually. And the first phase of the return of businesses being open and restaurants and places to get a haircut or whatever happened in New York City. But Long Island goes into phase 2 on Wednesday. And that's a good thing, too. So New York is, the numbers keep dropping in New York. In other places, it keeps going up, which is partly because they didn't do what New York City did. Anyway, brother, let's start out with the NBA. The NBA has announced that 22 teams will make the playoffs. Is that the right number, brother?
Well, the number is correct, brother, but then they aren't making the playoffs. They are 22 teams with a chance to make the playoffs.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So
the NBA,
team,
the NBA has done a little bit of creative planning here, let's call it.
Okay. And
especially with the inclusion of the New Orleans Pelicans, who's you may remember, brother, they had the number 1 pick in the draft last season, and they did select Zion Williamson,
right.
who still, despite the pandemic and despite basketball being away, shall we say, for approximately, I think it's 85 days, I believe is the number. Zion Williamson is still the national phenom that he is. So the Pelicans were included amongst the 22 teams with a chance to advance to the playoffs.
That's good to know. And now the NBA is doing something, I guess the rest of them will be doing it too, is they're going to be in one area, the Disney Orlando complex down at Walt Disney World in Orlando. I was just thinking about this, brother. Florida, the pandemic numbers are going up, actually.
Yes,
because they have not been as diligent as our great governor, Andrew Cuomo. And I do worry about this for the NBA because,
Don't worry about it, brother.
Well,
First of all, let's put it out there and say it for what it is. Floridians have been stupid. That's the word we're using.
Well,
they think that going to the beach is more important than people living. So yes, the COVID-19 numbers are certainly going up in Florida, and in fact they're going up considerably. But the NBA is able to put its entire 22 teams there. Apparently, at some point, there will be guests allowed. And by guests, we're talking family members and or significant others or children. But there will be a very limited number of those people because the NBA basically is as the saying goes, is building a bubble, and they are going to hope that they can have the rest of the regular season, which is going to be in the neighborhood of 7 to 8 games, depending on the team. Then it's going to go from 22 teams to 16 teams, and that will be the start of the playoffs. And basically the NBA is hoping to create a bubble. Oh, by the way, brother, the Knicks season is over.
Now, what do you mean by that? They're not playing any games? Is that what you're saying?
The Knicks are done. The only thing that the Knicks will do at some point, there will be some sort of organized team activities, and that is just because they don't want teams to go 10 months or so without playing basketball before next season starts. So that's where we are with.
They can't. There's going to be no more games for them at all.
Correct, brother. Not this season. They are done.
So basically, this is a playoff only type of setup for the NBA right now. Is that what this like the playoff start?
It's a playoff setup in a matter of ways, but they will be chipping away 6 teams before the playoffs actually start. The teams that are there now are the teams that had some sort of an outside chance to make it to the playoffs. And that is a charitable estimation of where the New Orleans Pelicans are. That decision, I'm convinced, was made because the NBA wanted to get another handful of games with Zion Williamson before the season was over. I mean, they certainly could have just as easily made it 20 teams or 21 teams, but the Pelicans were pretty much the last team involved. And somebody at the NBA said, hey, we can get a few more games out of Zion and make up some money here. And somebody else in the NBA likely said, oh, yeah, that's a pretty good idea.
Okay, well,
we are.
I'm not sure how why you just want to include, if you're going to include have a part of a regular season that leads into a playoff season, which is the way it's posted, that even if the Knicks were bad, which they were, why wouldn't you allow them to continue to play?
Because they're only going to play a handful of games, and they wanted teams that were still involved in a playoff race, and the Knicks certainly are not involved in a playoff race. And it also means that the teams that are jockeying for position and also jockeying for seeding position,
right.
in several cases, they'll be playing against good competition. So it won't be, like one team who is battling for a playoff spot and is battling for that 8th seed won't get an easy game against the Knicks, whereas somebody else might have to play the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the players getting paid? Have they said anything about that? Because if the Knicks aren't going to play, or the rest of the league that could play it isn't, the bad teams, do they only get a certain amount of salary and because they're not playing all these games?
That was negotiated, and I'm, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure how the NBA is working that out.
Because that'd be a good deal. Imagine you're on the Knicks and your team is horrible. Okay, you don't have to play those last 10 games, and you will be paid. It'd be a great thing.
The Knicks will get paid. I mean, from what I know, the players took a 25% salary cut because of the virus. If the reason they're playing those handful of regular season games to finish the season is so that their salaries don't get cut even further, because the number was going to be around 40%. So that the fact that they're playing regular season quote unquote games, well, not quote unquote, it is right, they are regular season games, means that the players will be getting more money, even though it's more than what it would have been. Let's put it that way. It's still going to be considerably less than what it says on their contracts by about, like I said, by about a quarter. But this allows teams to make up some of their television money and get some of that back. So that goes back into the coffers, and obviously that goes to players.
Right.
The fact that some players aren't playing is, that's the deal is the deal with the NBA Players Association. So yes, the Knicks will be playing, but their players will be getting paid.
So we know training camp for the NBA starts June 30th. We know it's at Disney Orlando, the Walt Disney World. What do they have, like tons of courts where each team can practice?
I remember talking about this a few weeks ago. The complex down there is, to say it's massive is an understatement. That's how big it is. It's basically like its own city. And there is a basketball area, there is a baseball area, there is a softball area, there is a soccer area. This whole complex is pretty well known amongst high school kids, because especially from the Northeast, because most of them, if they've played a sport, have probably gone down to Disney at some point. And by some point, I mean usually like in February or March or something, because while they are getting ready for their season, they go down there and they get a bunch of games in a day. You can play 2-3 games in a day, and it helps teams from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and states like that get ready for their seasons in a hurry, because now you're playing so many games in a day, and it really speeds up the development. Whereas if you stay up here, you're totally reliant on the weather. What about rain? What about snow? Is your field playable? And when you go down there, you don't have to worry about any of that, because obviously it's Florida. It's going to be at least 70 degrees every day and more than likely sunny. So you're going to get a bunch of games. Teams go down there and they'll play 15 games in a week.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So basically around October 12th, the season will be over for the NBA, about the time when normally they would start it. But at least they get a season complete out of this, which is important. You don't want to just leave it in the middle, because, it's not like it's a strike where, Major League Baseball walked away from a season, and the NHL once didn't even have a season because they were on strike. So you want to finish it off if you can. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, I can understand that. But also, this is the other thing, the NBA draft, which is normally, it would have been in May, is now October 15th.
Yes.
And free agency is October 18th. So that means the league's probably not going to start until December or even January, depending on when the camps would open up and stuff like that. So they're changing the way the season is, and that means next season is not going to end in June. It's going to end in August.
Yeah, they're shifting their calendar for sure.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that they've just basically taken 3 months off.
Right, right.
So they want to finish this season and have a bit of reset. And then next season is also going to be pushed back, and there's going to be a bit of a reset. So I don't think we're going to see a quote unquote normal NBA season until at least the
2 years from now, really.
Yeah. I mean, basically we're looking at, this is 2021 to 21-22, really.
Right. Yeah.
Because they're going to have to be able to reset the off season. They're going to have to be, who knows when we're going to have fans back in the stands, but the NBA will have to be able to reset everything.
I assume they're going to figure out something to get. They can't do another season. Well, this one is special. It's different. We'll work it out. But they can't do next season without fans. None of the leagues can.
They can if they have to. I mean, that's
I don't know, brother. I personally think that if you know before the season that you're not going to have fans, they're not going to do this. I really. Well,
look at the NFL. The NFL knows before the season that they're not going to have fans, and they're going forward. But what else can you do?
I've not heard the NFL say they're not going to have fans.
Have they said that? Listening.
Really? Okay. I mean, how does the NFL, which relies so much on PSLs and boxes and everything else, not rely on fans?
You know what else the NFL relies on?
I know that huge TV contract,
television money.
I know that, but it gets paid a lot. But is it enough to cover their team? That's what I want.
Right now, the NFL has the advantage over every other sport in that they are not playing, and that is a massive advantage for them, because they get to see the NBA especially, and maybe Major League Baseball, and use that as a testing ground, and see, okay, what's going to happen? What are the pitfalls that we need to look for? And that's the NBA and MLB are going to be the testing ground. NBA in the sense that, all right, we're going to have players, they need to get tested. We need to figure out how is there a way that we can make this safer, especially in the NFL. Are they going to make players wear face masks? I don't know. It's a very real question to ask.
Well, not the cloth ones.
Well, however they do
They'd
it.
have to have
I know you're going to talk about breathing issues while you're wearing it. Brother.
Well, yeah, and you probably have shields. They probably have shields on their face masks because I have problems walking with the mask on, and I'm a large person, or a larger person than I should be. And these football players are much larger than me, and there is truth to the fact
they're also in better shape, brother.
Yeah, but still, brother, a lot of them don't play more than one play at a time.
Right, I get what you're saying.
But the mask takes away actual breathing oxygen in. So, you can't breathe.
It's something that is going to have to be addressed because obviously,
I'm sure there's a mask. So I'm sure it'll be a glass mask.
Well, not glass. I don't know how they're going to resolve it, but it's something they have time to consider and think about and see what could work and what won't work. And what the players will be on board with, because there's one school of thought is if you're testing all of these players as often as the leagues claim they're going to be testing them, then you can be fairly certain that the guy lining up across from you doesn't have the virus. But
right.
Is that enough? Is that enough for a player that? The guy who got tested yesterday, that he didn't do anything in the last 24 hours that would have infected him, because then you got that guy across from you sweating and snarling and spitting in some cases, maybe not intentionally, but there's certainly going to be enough bodily fluids getting thrown around that. It's a big issue in the NBA or in the NFL, and the same goes for the NBA with these sweaty guys leaning all over each other, especially down in the paint area. You can't prevent physical contact there, so that is another. I don't know how the NBA is going to handle it, but you need to. The testing will obviously be ramped up for the athletes, but and the NBA is even talking about removing coaches who are over 60 from part of the equation. I'm still not even sure how they're going to do that. I mean, I don't know if they're going to wind up with somebody like Greg Popovich on a video screen in the middle of a huddle, being held, being like an iPad held by Becky Hammon.
But I don't know.
It's another thing the league has to deal with.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of ad-libbing with this stuff, and I also think they're not going to be. I don't think they're going to be as diligent as they can be, only because there's so many things that could go wrong, that might go wrong, and it's tough to cover all angles on this. I mean, I think it's going to work, but I know you're worried about people getting sick, but
let's put it this way, brother. Number one, you have to be worried about people getting sick. That's the primary issue here. If any league, and especially the NBA, because they're the first ones doing it, but if any league comes back and there's a sudden outbreak, if you have an outbreak in a league, then that league is going to shut down. If one player gets it, or
if one player, but if you're going to base it on one player, then you might as well not start the season.
But wait. There is a contingency plan for the NBA. They have a protocol on what they want to do. If a player tests positive, then they are going to sequester that player away, and there's going to be a quarantine, and they're basically going to hope that nobody else is infected. But it's also going to require some self-discipline by the athletes, and it's going to mean, hey, you know what, you're going to be inconvenienced for a season, and the whole going out after games and partying with groupies and hanging out with all the various women that they find in road trip cities and whatnot. All of that has to take a back seat, because if guys are just going to worry about chasing women and doing what they usually do, then this is not going to work, and it's going to be a disaster, and especially a PR disaster, not to mention a health disaster. But
right.
That's something mostly I look at that with baseball as much as anything else, because it's every night there's a game, and every night players are going out. Maybe they don't go out every night, but enough of them go out every night. Maybe 8 or 10 go out one night, or the different 8 or 10 go out the next night. It's not like guys are going out every night, but there is an unwinding time with Major League Baseball players. They go out for a drink after a game. They go out for a meal after a game, whatever.
Right.
Now it's going to be, hey, you go play the game, and maybe you go grab a takeout meal or something, or the team organizes something and says, hey, all right, guys, we got a meal waiting for you. Or, maybe I don't even know if they're going to be able to grab a drink, because who knows when the bars are opening up. But that's going to have to be the focus is, you know what, I can't go hang out, because if I get sick and I bring this back to my team, then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And that has to be the prevailing thought process for every athlete who is going through, at least, if not the next 6 months, maybe even further down the road, maybe probably through the end of the year at least. But that has to be the new normal. And
I'm not sure if that happens, brother. Just because you can't say you're not sure if it happens. It has to happen, because if it doesn't happen, then people, then teammates are going to get infected, and like I said, you're going to have a PR disaster. Well,
and quite possibly a health disaster. It's like, let's put it this way: do you want to be the player who brings COVID-19 into your clubhouse?
No, but I'm sure the players don't think they're going to get it anyway. So,
Yeah, but the one that does, you don't want to be the guy that tests positive and shows all your teammates, hey, I didn't care about you guys.
Well, like I said, brother, it's not a lot of these guys aren't Mensa members, so.
Well, you got to be smart enough to earn your money. That's what it comes down to. Because if you wind up with COVID and if you infect half your team, then nobody's getting paid.
Right.
And that is right now a lot of especially baseball. I mean, we don't know where baseball is going. I mean, baseball seems like the players and the owners are doing everything they can to screw up the season.
I think, 6 weeks ago, we actually started talking about plans, because they started to throw plan and ideas out there. I don't think there's going to be a baseball season, brother. I really think that they're not going to figure it out, and they're going to walk away in about 2 weeks saying, you know what, we're not doing it. Even though they could, I don't think they can will it, so to speak.
I will say this, brother. To me, there is too much money at stake for the two sides to not figure out something.
Oh, I know that, but you know what?
If they are dumb enough to not come to an agreement and just blow off the entire 2020 season, then I'm sorry, that's just idiocy. First of all, the players wouldn't get paid.
Right.
So if you're a player, and especially if you're a big money player, are you willing to throw away? Like, is Garrett Cole willing to throw away $35 million?
No, but he got paid $35 million last year. So he's
he didn't. No, he didn't.
Well, whatever he got paid last season.
He made a nice salary last year, but it wasn't anywhere close to $35 million.
Okay, well,
is Aaron Judge, who just it was his first year of arbitration, and he signed a contract for $8.5 million. They avoided arbitration, but is he willing to forego his first big payday? Remember, Aaron Judge last year made $600-something thousand, which, yes, to an ordinary human being is an enormous salary. For Aaron Judge, who is in the early stages of his career, it really isn't very much.
No, I agree. I don't know. I mean, a 50-game season almost seems like it's home run derby at that point.
Yeah, I'm not happy with that aspect.
Yeah,
I think baseball made a mistake.
I think though, really anything more than 80 games, really, at this point, it's really not worth it. If it's not 80 games, at least it's like, okay. I mean, Are we going to have the same type of setup?
But that's baseball's fault, because baseball has been talking for a long time now. And
we talk about the league or the players, because
both.
Okay.
And when I say baseball, I mean more so the owners, because the owners have been talking about, the July 4th has been pinned as the startup date for more than a couple of months now. I mean, we were all looking at July 4th as being that target date. The owners have been talking for a while about half a season, and then all of a sudden, a few days ago, last week, they said, "Oh, well, we're going to have a 50-game season." Well, you know what? Baseball is the sport that is known for the marathon, not the sprint, and the everyday, and the grind of the season. Well, now you're talking about having a 1/3 of your season. I'm sorry. That's just it's 50 games. It's not you can't play less than 1/3 of your season and expect anybody to take it seriously.
Right.
I mean, half a season is bad enough. But again, the other issue with that is, again, keeping players safe. And how do you do it? And how do you keep young men from going out and socializing and keep them basically, I don't want to say imprisoned, because it's a harsh term for what it would be, but you're going to keep them in a bubble, and you're going to keep them away from their families, and you're going to keep them away from loved ones, because the more that they're isolated, the safer everybody is. And how much are you going to do that? But with baseball, they're going to have, every team is going to be there, 30 sites. I still don't know how they're going to work it out with Canada. But, because Canada, you're supposed to have a 14-day quarantine period before you do anything when you go to Canada. Right. So they have to get an exemption for that. Either that, or the Toronto Blue Jays would have to play down in Florida at their spring training home. But, how does all of this work out? And I don't. Baseball essentially needs to have a deal in place within about a week or so, if they have any chance of starting on July 4th, because you're talking a week would be June 15th to have a 3-week spring training. It's not even 3 weeks until July 4th.
Right.
So you're looking at, a really tight, they would be starting literally almost the day after an agreement was announced. So now you're going to have to get players all in the same place. You're going to have to get everybody tested, because you want to make sure that nobody has it who's coming into your camp. And then you're going to have to get, ramp everything back up and get everybody working out and into preparation mode for maybe it'll be July 6th. But I know that baseball, the major league people, the suits, so to speak, want to do July 4th and get that major holiday and get everybody feeling good about baseball and hey, we did it for you, the fans, and hey, celebrate 4th of July with some baseball and feel good about life. And that's what they want. That's what they want. But will they be able
also,
to get
the other thing about baseball is they usually take a week off for the All-Star game. And the All-Star game is very much part of the Players Association's monies, of some of the monies they get and stuff like that. And there's most likely not an All-Star game this year because of that. There
actually has been talk about having one after the season.
Well, maybe that would be
because again, it would be a revenue source. And if we did it after the season, it's something that they could put on television in November or whatever. And okay. Here's one more. In fact, there's not even one more day. It's really a couple days, because they'd probably have a home run derby and do the various
home run derby would be good.
But have that and have maybe they would have a futures game again. I don't know, because without the minor league players playing, I don't know that you could put together a futures game. But
true.
Home run derby and an All-Star game and put that, make it a 2-day thing. And they could sell that to a network and they could sell it to baseball fans at the same time.
Right. You're listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. You're listening to From the Press Box. My name is Rob Leonard. Joining me, of course, is my brother and co-host and award-winning sports writer, Tim Leonard. And this hour of From the Press Box is brought to you by the Morning Madhouse here on WHPC. Every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we have our own morning show here at WHPC called The Morning Madhouse. I hope you get to listen to it. It's a lot of fun listening to.
It's a slice of awesomeness.
It is. And, you get Fischetti and the rest of the guys talking, and girls, just chatting away, playing some music, and enjoying themselves is a good way of putting it. And
talking about life.
Talking about life is a very cool thing. So anyway, brother, so the Major League Baseball, I'm not sure. I think the season gets, at this point, you know what it sounds like? The 4th of July, it sounds like the guy in Jaws, the bear in Jaws.
There have been comparisons made to him before about this season.
Yeah, and also about Trump. Him and Trump have been compared on different social media.
They like to wish things away. The mayor of Amity wanted to wish the shark away, and Trump wanted to wish the virus away, and we saw how that went both times.
And I want that guy hung up by his Buster Browns. It was a great scene.
Buster Browns are shoes, by the way, kids.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was 1975. It's 45 years ago that Jaws came out.
That's why I'm letting them know. I'm not sure anybody knows what Buster Browns are anymore.
I mean, there's no Buster Brown shoes?
I don't believe so. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea.
So anyway, the MLB, Major League Baseball, I think they could actually go beyond the 4th of July, but not by much more. I really think, and it depends on how many games they play and how it all works. I really think that they can't do that, just because
it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge, brother, and it's going to be more of a challenge the longer they wait. I don't know why either side really has felt any real deadline pressure on this yet.
I'm wondering, brother, if some of the smaller market teams in Major League Baseball wouldn't even mind not having a season because maybe they lose money during the season, and this is a way of losing less money. Not that the players want it, because obviously, like you said, they don't get paid. But I could see some smaller market teams saying, well, you know what, we're not going to make any money this year anyway. Let's not have a season. I can save some money.
Well, but think about that from a player standpoint, brother, and that's where I think that we might have a divide in the ranks. If you're a player and you only have so many years of earning power, and again, like somebody like Aaron Judge who has made a little bit of money, and I say that in Major League Baseball terms.
Right,
but
sure.
Aaron Judge in his career, and I'm not talking about endorsements, that's separate money, but contract-wise, has made about a total of $2 million.
Right.
Again, I'm not saying that $2 million isn't a lot of money, but Major League players burn through money because you're talking about a major shift in how you're living your life. Aaron Judge, he's not just going to go, walk into a building in New York and say, "Yeah, hi, I'd like to rent an apartment," or apparently, as Noah Syndergaard did a few months ago, sign a lease for an apartment that was $27,000 a month. But you even if you're making $600,000, $27,000 a month is a lot in rent.
That's a lot to me.
Yeah, it's a lot to anybody. But if you are Aaron Judge, now all of a sudden you got money. You signed a contract, but they're not going to pay you until you start playing games.
Yeah, no,
so
I agree with that part, but I can just see there's always little people in there who might say, "Oh, we don't need this." And I'm talking about the owners. I'm not talking about the players. And I know some players who said, "Well, is this really worth it?" And I don't get that either. If you get a paycheck, you need a paycheck, even if it was $1 million.
Right.
You still need a paycheck.
I don't think any small club or small market owners are looking at this and saying, well, I'd be better off if we didn't bother with the season, because the hit that baseball will take from a public relations standpoint, I believe will be devastating, because the only reason that baseball won't play this season is because the owners and the players are too stupid and too stubborn and don't care enough about the fans to actually get baseball on the field.
Right, I agree. And you know what? And I mean, 1994 is 26 years away, but that year where they didn't finish and have a World Series still bothers me as a fan, even though it's a long time ago. And but it took a while to get back into baseball, and people were angry that they didn't finish the season, and it was all over a stupid amount of money, which it always is. And it's funny because I'm bothered by that more than the fact that the NHL didn't have a season around that time also, where they were like, well, we have to do this, but it just shows the difference the way people look at hockey and baseball. So, and I like hockey, and you know, I know you like hockey too, but you know, not finishing the World Series or not getting to the World Series when you could have, maybe you're pretty close to the end of the season at that point, was kind of silly and.
It was idiotic, but baseball should learn from that.
All right, I hope they have,
but I don't know if they have, because baseball took a hit back then, and that was it was you know, the purists hated that there was no World Series, and it's one thing if you don't play a World Series because there's a world war going on or something, or you have, you know, extenuating circumstances like that. If you don't finish a season because, we were too stupid to be able to figure out how to split billions of dollars.
No, you're right.
Fans get incensed about that. And then they start to question their own judgment. Why am I bothering with a sport that so obviously doesn't care about the fans that they refuse to even play the games because they can't figure out who is going to get more of the money?
Right,
and that's both sides. And I've said this before, brother. Just because you own a baseball team, it's no guarantee that you're going to make money. There is no such thing as a business that always makes money. And there's going to be, like the coronavirus showed us that you know what, even the most successful business can take a hit. And
yeah, but also the like if you look like the NFL owners, they are guaranteed a profit basically because they share things. Yeah, and Major League Baseball doesn't, and it's always been a problem with the rich and the poor owners. If there's such a difference,
but even the NFL, you're not guaranteed to print money. It doesn't always work out like that. And this is like the most extreme thing that could have happened. I can't imagine anything more extreme unless one of these days an asteroid actually does hit the Earth. I can't imagine a more extreme situation than what we've been going through with coronavirus. But this is, when you're an owner, this is the risk you take. And Major League Baseball owners don't seem to want to get that through their head that, I'm going to have one season where I wasn't able to print money.
Yeah.
And they want the players to take more and more pay cuts. And I'm sorry, if I'm a player, I got to draw the line somewhere and say, hey, you know what? This is what you signed up for. This is the risk you assumed when you purchased the team.
No, I agree. I'm not saying otherwise,
It's not always going to be gravy and who was that Donald Duck uncle who always
Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge, whatever.
Yeah, Uncle Scrooge.
All right, but you're not going to be that guy swimming in gold coins and jewels and it's that is the risk you take. That is the risk that small business owners take every single day.
Right, but small business owners is different, brother.
But it's a risk that Major League Baseball owners haven't had to deal with in decades, and now that they have to deal with it for one lousy season, they're all going out of their minds.
But you got to keep. Well, let me get in here, brother. You have to keep the good of the game going, and if it costs you a few bucks, then you know what? Then if you're really that bothered by it, then sell your team. Get in line with the Wilpons and sell your team.
Exactly. Because I couldn't agree more.
Because if you don't worry about the good of the game, after a while, people don't care. People have gotten by without sports for the last 3 months. And
they're going crazy for it, too.
They're going crazy, but you know what? There's not a lot to keep this going. Except
people watch Tom
games.
Brady play golf and split his pants, and because they were so desperate to watch sports,
or seeing Gronk on some stupid TV show being stupid. So did you see the show? He basically comes out and says, "Hi, I'm Gronk, and I'm stupid." And it was
that game show.
Yeah, a game show.
I don't even remember what it's called.
I turned it on, and it's like, "Hi, I'm Gronk, and I'm stupid." Well, he didn't actually say it that, but it sounded like that.
But I've been calling him for how many years have I been calling him America's idiot? That's what he is. He's still making a living out of it. I've been calling him that for at least 3 years. America's idiot. That's what he is.
You should trademark it.
I should. But that's what he is. He's making a successful living at it. He plays football and then he plays the idiot. Good for him.
Yeah, his brains aren't a little scrambled. Who knows? Anyway, brother,
who knows how much of it is real? I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Let's talk about the NFL.
Well, let's just get it. Let's talk about the Major League Draft first, brother, because we actually do have some baseball stuff going on.
Well, hold it, brother. One thing I have to say, brother.
Go ahead.
If we had a season right now, would we care about the draft in the Major League Baseball? Because most people don't. This is not like the NFL draft where they make a TV show out of it, or even the NBA draft, which sort of has a TV show. I was watching Well, hold it. I'm watching MLB last night. They were re-showing Game 7 of the Mets-Red Sox, which must have been shown like 15 times in the last couple of weeks over different channels. It's still a great game. Anyway, they keep promoting the Major League Draft for Wednesday. And when I care, and I don't care about the Major League Baseball
draft. But you should.
Draft.
Why? I don't understand why you don't, brother.
But because most players go through minor league baseball first. They don't start out going from the draft to the Major League team in 3 months, like in football and basketball. You don't have that. So, you have to be more involved like you are with your league you're in and stuff like that.
A lot of baseball fans are that involved. So that's,
but then you got to wait.
I understand where you're taking it from and the mindset that you have here, but a lot of baseball fans are more engrossed in what's going on, and they also want to see what their team is doing for the future. They want to see, all right, who's going to be that next guy that I get to root for? What name should I look for? And like last year, we talked about it when the Mets drafted Matthew Allen, and I believe it was the first day of the third round, and Matthew Allen was a guy who had told teams, look, I'm looking for this kind of bonus. And it was a major bonus. Otherwise, he was going to college. And last year, I gave Brody Van Wagenen credit. Matthew Allen was, I want to say, the number 12 or number 13 rated player in all of the draft. And after 2 rounds went by, it was kind of like, all right, well, you know what? Hey, nobody's going to pick this guy because he still wants somewhere around a $5 million bonus or whatever it was. And Brody Van Wagenen said, you know what? This guy is really good. I'm going to pick him, and we're going to get him signed, and I'm going to use most of my bonus money for the first 10 rounds. The Mets picked mostly college seniors after that, and college seniors are in a position where if they don't take the offer that the team gives them, then they're not getting anything. So he gave minimal bonuses to the rest of the top 10 rounds of picks that the Mets got, and wound up getting Matthew Allen signed.
Okay,
so that was one of the few good things that Brody Van Wagenen did last year.
I'm not saying that the draft is a bad thing, but they're making it a TV event now on MLB Network, and I'm not sure if it's that big of a thing.
Well, it doesn't have the name recognition. I mean, we've said the same,
brother. Not in our area, but high school football in parts of the country is a huge thing. They show it on the Friday night, TV show out in Nebraska or something.
Texas, the Friday night
Texas. Yes. Yeah, well, they don't do that around here. They barely have any high school sports around here, which is not a bad thing. I'm not really complaining about it, but what I'm saying is that there's a difference about how, you look at, a draft. NBA and NFL is good. Major League Baseball and hockey, usually they go through minor leagues first. So
right, of course, but the point being, brother, is you want to see who that next guy is. Like Yankee fans in the early '90s, got their first look at Derek Jeter, and hey,
right.
Here's the kid we just picked at number, what was it, number 6, I think it was. And hey, we got really high hopes for Derek, and here he is, and I'm sure the girls saw him and said, oh look, he's cute, and let's see what happens to him, and that then you get a little taste, and you get to see, all right, what about this guy? You maybe dig a little deeper and say, all right, what are his strengths and what does he need to work on, and how long do the scouts think it's going to be before we see this kid? And usually it is in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 years. And you're making a pick for the future, and you want to see, how fast he can move through the organization and how good he is, and that's often the indication. If he moves faster, obviously he's a good player, and he can handle the jump in level at each level. But in terms of name recognition, no. I mean, Spencer Torkelson is expected to be the number 1 pick on Wednesday night by the Detroit Tigers. He, because I know nobody knows, or I know that most people don't know, is a first baseman from Arizona State who, brother, is drawing comparisons to Pete Alonso. Major power on this kid. Major power.
Bad. Okay.
So, but that is, when you're talking about the future, if I'm a Detroit Tigers fan, and they were, I mean, believe it or not, there was actually a team that was worse than the Baltimore Orioles last year. But if I'm the Detroit Tigers, I'm loving the fact that I'm going to be drafting Spencer Torkelson, and this guy, hopefully within 2 or 3 years, because he is a college player, he'll be up in the major leagues helping my team be less crappy.
Tim, what a minor league baseball? What's the status with that? Is the season canceled, or
we don't know what's happening yet because it hasn't been made official. But every indicator is that the minor league season is just going to be canceled. Now that
so what do you do with a drafted player who has no place to go?
They're probably going to be working out at team facilities down in Florida. They're going to have their best prospect. Their best prospects will be working out. I can guarantee you that. They might not be playing games, but I guarantee they'll be working out, and they'll be getting coached up, as they say, and hopefully improving. But without playing games, I'm not sure if their learning curve doesn't wind up being depressed a little bit. And you need that challenge, and you need that day-to-day activity to improve your skills. And it really is going to be a lost season for a lot of young players. Because of course, if there isn't a minor league season, we're going to see more players, because I don't know what the major league rosters are going to be, but they're going to be considerably expanded.
Okay, but also, brother, season. One thing is, Major League Baseball is trying to get rid of all their players who are in the minor leagues too, which the Mets have released a whole bunch of players, and I'm sure other teams have too. So it's kind of strange,
40 players.
Yeah, so I mean, they're trying to change minor league baseball in the same process. So I don't know. Like I said, you care about the Major League Baseball draft. I mean, I'd watch it maybe because there's nothing else on. I mean, The Last Dance was on both ESPN and ABC on Saturday.
Yeah, there you go.
It was like, okay, we have no actual programming anymore, but we'll play this. And I think there's a 30 for 30 on Bruce Lee. So
Sea Water.
Yeah, and then they of course they did a 30 for 30 on Ric Flair. Woo! So
yeah, well, because they wanted to yell "woo" a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting how we are running out of programming a little bit.
Well, but that's where things are right now, and the fact that the Major League Baseball has a draft that they can put on this is quote unquote original programming.
Yeah,
and there is something happening that will have an impact on major league teams.
Okay, brother, let's change the topic here. NFL, your favorite commissioner Roger Goodell apologized for Colin Kaepernick. Even
well,
though
no,
they
he didn't. He didn't say Colin Kaepernick's name, so let's not say he apologized for Colin Kaepernick.
But he was implying it. Well, he was talking about, I guess, other players too. But it's all about Colin Kaepernick. And, of course, the NFL lost a lawsuit with Kaepernick a while ago. So,
if I remember correctly, I think they settled.
Settled, whatever. It's the same thing.
So, but
okay, you're right. It is a settle. Let's be right about that. Yeah. So anyway, he came across. I mean, it was nice to see, but I'm not sure doing it actually does anything, because they sort of prevented him from having a job for the last couple of years because no one wanted to sign him, even though they needed a backup quarterback, and many teams needed a backup quarterback along the way, and no one signed him.
Kaepernick was exiled, basically. But there's no way around that. And you can look at the Jets as a perfect example with some of the garbage backup quarterbacks they had when Sam Darnold was hurt. And would Colin Kaepernick not have been a better option for the New York Jets than any of the backup quarterbacks they had, whose names I don't even remember because they were so bad? Right. That's what we're dealing with, and Commissioner Goodell, to his credit, and I'm not going to give him a lot of credit here because he should have done it years ago, but he said we got it wrong. And he said that, talked about the NFL, and he said they condemn racism and the oppression of black people. And, quote, we, the National Football League, admit we were wrong for not listening to NFL players earlier and encourage all players to speak out and peacefully protest. We in the National Football League believe that Black Lives Matter. And good for him for actually saying that. But again, he never said, and Colin Kaepernick, we apologize.
Well, my problem with, and still about not what Colin Kaepernick did. I have no problem with that. He did it during the national anthem. And not that it's about the national, it's not. But the NFL TV networks do not show the national anthem. So no one knew that he was doing it because there was no camera on him until our wonderful president brought it up. I mean, other people had brought it up, and then, of course, he brings it and blows it up. But no one really knew what he was doing because no one saw it on TV. And that was the part that, that's the part that always bothered me about it, is that no one saw it. Because it wasn't a problem.
Well, the idiot president was at it again last night, brother. Because last night, a couple minutes before midnight, I don't know why he's not asleep. I don't know why he's got his thumbs on his phone around midnight. But the moronic and tone deaf tweet, the latest one, I should say, from the president, read, quote, could it be even remotely possible that in Roger Goodell's rather interesting statement of peace and reconciliation, he was intimating that it would now be okay for players to kneel all in caps, or not to stand for the national anthem, thereby disrespecting our country and our flag. Now, once again, the moron president totally misrepresents what Kaepernick is doing.
Right, and that's the problem also, is because a lot of people think what Trump is saying about the national anthem, which it's not. That's not why he was.
It never has been.
I know that, but a lot of people don't realize that.
Because they're stupid and they refuse. All you have to do, brother, all right, is to go to Google and all you have to do is type in, why does Colin Kaepernick kneel?
Oh, I know the reason, Tim, and you do too.
I know. So. I'm telling people, anybody who agrees with Trump on this, just do that. Or type into Google, who told Kaepernick to take a knee? And the first, I did it last night. The first 4 links will show you that Nate Boyer, a one-time member of the Seattle Seahawks and a Green Beret soldier, was the guy that told Kaepernick to take a knee. Because Kaepernick before that was just sitting on the bench when the anthem was being played, and Boyer's recommendation to him was that there are times when soldiers kneel to fallen soldiers, and that he thought it would be more respectful than just sitting on the bench. And so in that regard, that with Boyer's recommendation that he would not be, quote, disrespecting the flag. So that's where it comes from, and that's why Trump aggravates me with this idiocy that he tweets, because it's just a complete lie.
Well, I hope Twitter puts a flag on it and says, this isn't the truth, but I doubt they will. But I'm just, the question with the NFL would be, okay, let's sign Colin Kaepernick back. Someone sign him. If he can even play at this point, he hasn't played in 2 years. So
it's been way more than 2 years. This is all going back to 2017.
Okay,
or 2016. So it's been 4 years.
Okay, 4 years. I mean, maybe
time flies, brother.
I guess it does. I guess it does, brother. We have about 3 minutes left. Just want to say that the NHL reopens today. They seem to have got their agreements in order with the players, and the players have their agreements with the owners. Congratulations to Gary Bettman, something I normally don't say, or many people say. But it's
they still have a few details to iron out, but
but they're gonna iron it out, brother.
They're slowly kind of getting back. I mean, the fact that the players will actually be able to work out today.
Right,
teams
that's the main thing.
Can reopen their facilities as long as local regulations permit it. I mean, I'm not sure what the situation is for some of the New York teams, but
Long Island's open, brother. So the Islanders.
I would assume Westchester for the Rangers would be open as well then, but obviously I don't know that New York City would be, but they're not practicing there anyway. So
no.
But the NHL they will have limited practices today with basically they can bring in players a handful at a time to skate. Because think about it, brother. If the NHL paused its season on March 12th, how many players have actually skated since then?
Probably none. Nothing's been open.
Where would you find a rink? I mean, skating is a very specific thing. I mean, it's not like you can't just go to a park and shoot baskets. I mean, a lot of places wouldn't let you do that, but it was at least possible to do. Or if you had a hoop in your backyard or something, you can't just go somewhere and skate. It's not like you could just take some ice out of the freezer and say, "All right, I'm going to go skate somewhere."
Plus, you need an NHL size rink.
Yeah.
Just to stretch out the legs. You can't do it on a tiny rink like in Marjorie Post Park or something.
Right. So, but the NHL, the plan is to have a 24-team playoff format, which we discussed, I believe, last week.
Yeah, we did.
At 2 hub cities. The hub cities haven't even been selected yet. So, and they're going to have a similar situation like basketball, where they're going to try to create their own bubble, and they're going to have secure arenas and hotels and practice facilities, and they will have aggressive COVID-19 testing and protocols at each site. But we don't know where the sites will be yet. So that's one of the things that the NHL is working on.
We know it's not going to be at the Nassau Coliseum.
No.
Because obviously it's small, but it would have been nice to have some playoff games at the Coliseum this year, only because of how the Coliseum rocks as a barn and stuff like that. So anyway, brother, it's time to say goodbye. Big Ed is getting ready with the Good Gold Show. Hello, Big Ed. We hope another great show is coming. We already know that, but hello to Big Ed. And anyway, brother, thank you for being my co-host, or our co-host, or the show co-host, or whatever we call it.
Thank you for being my co-host, brother.
Thank you, brother. You're listening to 90.3 WHPC from the Press Box. Thanks to Sean Novat for keeping this on the air, and we'll see you next week.